Okay. I think we're
Are
good.
we live? Are we live?
We're live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live. Have you ever seen that? Do you know what that is?
No, you've told me before. What is it?
It's Bill O'Reilly from the O'Reilly Factor years ago. He obviously like read about Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly's like a really polarizing person because he's a part of the Fox News machine, and so people on the left hate Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly's like what Tucker Carlson is now. Is what Bill O'Reilly was. And he was always like, I'm an independent, but like he was not an independent. And he had a bunch of like social issues. And it came out. It came out one time. There's this video on YouTube. If you just Google "fuck it, we'll do it live," you'll get the video. And it's him like trying to practice on the teleprompter before they record, and he keeps like screwing it up, and he's like saying it, singing, and he's like, "Fuck it, we'll do it live." And it's just, I think it's the funniest thing ever. Like, there's like T-shirts you can buy that say "Fuck it, we'll do it live." I love that. Like the very first 30 seconds of your podcast is just
I
like you
love it
dropping a
too,
bunch of
man.
f bombs.
I need to look this up. Yeah. No, F-bombs are totally allowed. Um,
Good, cool.
okay. So I do want to, just before we went live, you were talking about the name of the podcast, and um, I didn't tell you I wanted to talk about this, but I am going to do the Trevor Roberts Talkfest for now, but I just feel like that's not perfect, So I don't
I
know.
mean,
It's kind of a work
hopefully
in
you're just
progress.
hopefully it just blows up, and then you're at the point where you can just go at Trev Talk.
I
Because I think
know.
that's got like this simplicity to it that if people were like Trev Talk, like that's Trev. But I mean, you're gonna have to get
Yeah,
like 1 million followers first.
I know. Well, in my whole life, I feel like I've identified more with Trev than my full name, or Trevor, but not so much my full name. Um, you know how
Trevor
like
Ryan Roberts sounds like a law firm.
I do actually like my full name, Trevor Ryan Roberts. But my friends have always called me Trev or Trevor or like a nickname with Trev. But like when I did play football, which is weird to think about, people didn't call me Roberts, which a lot of times people would call people by their last name when you're doing
Oh
that.
yeah,
And some people's last name is really cool, so they'll have like a last name nickname. But I know I told you this, but like the Joe Rogan podcast, he becomes the brand, and I just think that that's you kind of have to keep that in there. You want the full name because nobody does. I know you said, well, people already knew him, but I really would argue that he wasn't like mega famous like he is now until the podcast came out.
no,
He
he's
was the
definitely a
host of
much bigger
Fear
deal
Factor.
now.
Yeah, like he
I'd
did
be
Fear
interested to
Factor.
go back. Do you know how frequently he records?
I actually was looking at that today, and I heard him say this once. There's no like schedule. I think what it is he'll do like 3 or 4 a week, because it looked like there were multiple, but it wasn't like Monday, Wednesday, Friday like some people do. It was, and I heard him say this once. He coordinates, like he just schedules them, and that's when he does it. And he requires his guests to come to his live in person studio, and he's got all the cameras set up there. And then he even has like a TV, and he has his systems guy that like they'll pull up YouTube videos if they're talking about something on the TV, and we can both look at it and then talk about it. But he won't do it virtually, is my understanding. And so part of the logistics of like getting, like he just the other day had Mark Zuckerberg on. So if Mark Zuckerberg says, and he talked to him for 3 hours. So if Mark Zuckerberg says, I'll talk to you for 3 hours, and it's going to be next Tuesday, I think that you just kind of do it, even
He's got
though
he demands that they come to his place, but he's got to work with their schedule.
I think so. And I don't know for sure, but I think he pays for their travel expenses.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think he pays for their flight and their rent a car and stuff, and maybe even their hotel, but he doesn't actually give them any money. Like he doesn't pay them to come on. And I think at this point, it's a benefit to them to even be on his podcast because they're getting more exposure than he is. Um, but it's pretty crazy to get. 3 hours worth of someone's time, especially when that someone is like we're friends. I think if we were going to hang out on a Friday night, we'd spend more than 3 hours together. But you're just basically asking somebody that's an expert in something to come talk on your podcast. You don't really know them. That's a long time to ask for. You know
Yeah, that's why I'm here. I'm an expert.
exactly. Um, okay, so I did want to talk. I mean, I do want to talk about what I think you are really good at. But first, I just wanted to give a brief background because hopefully people listening won't necessarily always know us. So I think it's really cool that I wanted to share we became friends in 2013, but we only lived in the same city for about 2 years. And we did hang out quite a bit in that 2 years, but then you have moved in 2015, and it's been like 7 years. And we've been hanging out, not living in the same city. And it's pretty cool that our friendship has made it like 7 years, you know, long distance and only 2 years ever in the same city.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you're the only person in Nebraska I still speak to.
Well, your family used to live in Nebraska and they moved,
Right,
right?
right. They're
Right.
gone. They're gone. Yeah. Oh,
So,
yeah. It has been a journey. I mean, you met me like right before. I think it was like this. Man, was it the spring semester of my sophomore year? I think, and then, or maybe it was the fall semester of my junior year. I can't recall exactly, but you're right. It was only 2 years, and I graduated and pretty much just dropped everything and left. And so like more of our relationship has been with me in a different state than hasn't, and that's always that's always very telling. But I think you end up, at least I do, because I value uh, what what's the old Skip Bayless thing, or they're like embrace debate. I value people that want to like have interesting and comfortable conversations. And I get older and older, and you think because I'm in law school, like I would just meet a bunch of people like that, but it's really not the case. Like it's a rarer trait as I get to the point in life when everybody just wants to be comfortable. Like
yeah.
nobody
Yeah.
likes to sit around and hey, make me feel uncomfortable for 3 hours. Great, yeah, sign me up.
I am okay with people sharing their thoughts and disagreeing with them. And I feel like I don't have to lash out or whatever. Like I can listen to people say something that I don't agree with. And I always find it interesting to see where people come from. But I do know what you mean. I mean, I think you like the uncomfortable part with anyone. I like having conversations with people that I feel like can have, kind of nuanced, layered, deep conversations where maybe they remember that we talked about this before, and it's like they seem like they're going to be able to give me some insights. Some people, I think maybe they do that with other people and it just hasn't happened with me. I'm not saying that like they can't do it at all, but sometimes it feels like I'm not going to get there with that person and I can identify it pretty quickly. But I just love having conversations in general. So it's really cool whenever I find somebody that can do that.
Yeah, you're a really good listener, and I think that you get a lot out of the conversation when you have a person who feels heard. So I believe you that you can probably get more connective tissue out of a conversation with people than just about anybody I know. Um, I may actually remember more things from what someone said, and I'm really bad at making people feel heard. So there's very little like we don't get to the connecting point very frequently, or me and XYZ random stranger at least.
For
But
sure.
but yeah, cool. Let's monetize that.
Yeah,
what do you
exactly.
what do you want to talk about?
So,